Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. This single quote from CEO Jensen Huang, taken from his interview with Dwarkesh Patel, really gets to the heart of NVIDIA's entire worldview. It's a very simple but incredibly profound statement. It reframes the company not as just a chipmaker, but as the absolute essential engine that transforms raw power into artificial intelligence. In this analysis, we're going to unpack what that really means for their strategy.
So, to really understand NVIDIA's dominance, we're going to examine four critical areas. First, we'll dive into their electrons to tokens philosophy. Then, we will deconstruct the four distinct pillars that make up their competitive moat. After that, we'll analyze the competitive landscape and the real threat from specialized chips. And finally, we'll touch on the complex geopolitical game they're playing, especially concerning China. So, let's start with NVIDIA's core philosophy. It's a concept Jensen Huang calls electrons to tokens. And believe me, it's about a lot more than just silicon. When you really stop and think about it, turning raw electricity from a power plant into a coherent sentence from a large language model, well, that's an incredibly complex process. Huang's whole argument is that this transformation, from the electron to the token, is exactly where NVIDIA creates its immense value. They're not just selling you a piece of hardware, they're selling the sophisticated end-to-end engine that powers the entire AI economy.
And to get this done, Huang sees the AI world as a five-layer cake. At the very bottom, you have the raw computing infrastructure, the GPUs themselves. Right on top of that is their proprietary system software, most famously CUDA, which is the programming language that makes their chips work. Then you get the pre-trained models, followed by the AI application frameworks, and finally, at the very top, the AI-driven applications that you and I actually interact with. Now, NVIDIA's strategy isn't to own every single layer, but to be the indispensable partner at every single level.
And Huang is very clear on one thing. This is all, in his words, insanely hard. The sheer complexity of the science and the engineering, from chip architecture all the way to software optimization, is what he believes makes NVIDIA's core business so resistant to being commoditized. In a way, this difficulty is their first and most important line of defense. Okay, so if that's the big picture philosophy, what are the actual pillars holding up NVIDIA's fortress? Let's deconstruct their competitive moat.
Huang's moat is really built on four interconnected pillars. First, there's supply chain command, their ability to lock up manufacturing. Second is the CUDA software ecosystem. That's the programming platform developers are so deeply invested in. Third, extreme co-design velocity, their unbelievably fast pace of innovation. And finally, their vast downstream partner network. The key thing to understand is that it's the combination of these four that makes them so incredibly difficult to challenge.
Let's start with the supply chain. The number here is just staggering. We are talking about over $100 billion in purchase commitments. By doing this, NVIDIA essentially buys up the world's advanced manufacturing capacity for years into the future, and that effectively starves potential competitors of the resources they would need to challenge them at scale. And this creates a really powerful flywheel effect. As Huang himself puts it, nobody is going to build out a supply chain for a company that has low or unpredictable demand. Suppliers are willing to invest billions to serve NVIDIA because they know the orders are going to keep coming. It's a level of security that, frankly, startups and smaller rivals just can't provide. This control over the supply chain, combined with their software lock-in with CUDA and that rapid innovation, puts them in a very powerful position. But this brings us to the competitive landscape, where their biggest challenge really comes from a different approach: specialized chips, things like ASICs, developed by giants like Google. The rise of these custom-built ASICs, or application-specific integrated circuits, really does raise a critical question about the future of AI hardware. I mean, if companies can just build chips perfectly tuned for their own models, where exactly does that leave NVIDIA? Well, Huang's counter-argument is all about flexibility versus specialization. A specialized chip, like a TPU, might be incredibly fast at one specific task, like the matrix multiplication that dominates today's AI models. But AI is constantly evolving. What happens when a new breakthrough algorithm is invented tomorrow? That specialized chip could become a very expensive paperweight. NVIDIA's GPUs, on the other hand, powered by their programmable CUDA platform, can adapt to those new algorithms on the fly. He illustrates the difference with a great analogy. A general-purpose CPU is like a comfortable Cadillac. Pretty much anyone can drive it reasonably well. An NVIDIA GPU, though, is a high-performance Formula One car. It requires a ton of skill and optimization to push it to its limits, but when you tune it correctly, it delivers truly groundbreaking speed. So ultimately, Huang argues that it all comes down to the business bottom line. It's not just about the upfront cost of buying a chip. It's about the total cost of ownership. How many tokens can you generate per dollar spent or per watt of electricity used? And on those crucial business metrics, he claims Nvidia is simply untouchable. All right, finally, let's examine one of the most complex external factors in all of this: Nvidia's strategic position on technology export controls to China, as Huang has articulated it. Huang presents a very nuanced, long-term argument against broad restrictions, and it really focuses on the second and third-order effects that he believes policymakers might be overlooking. His position, essentially, is that denying sales doesn't eliminate China's AI capability. It just forces them to accelerate the development of a completely independent and competing ecosystem. He argues they have the resources, the talent, and the manufacturing base to do it. And cutting them off simply removes American influence and, of course, market access. The core of his argument is a kind of strategic containment through inclusion. He believes it is absolutely vital for the world's AI developers, including that massive developer base in China, to remain on the American-led technology stack. This maintains visibility, influence, and a competitive advantage for U.S. technology. And this core philosophy, do as much as needed but as little as possible, really ties everything together. Nvidia focuses on solving the insanely hard problems that only it can, and then it leverages its massive partner ecosystem for everything else. It's a strategy that has built a truly formidable moat around their business. So, that really brings us to the final lingering question. With this kind of moat built on software, the supply chain, and this incredible velocity, is Nvidia's dominance just a temporary feature of the current AI boom, or have they actually built a long-term, unshakable foundation for the future of the entire industry? Their four-pillar strategy certainly suggests it's the latter, but in the fast-moving world of tech, nothing is ever guaranteed. Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning of this video to buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. We encourage you to subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. Please like, comment, and share to help us reach a wider audience.